The bright McDonald's sign glowed in the dark, making the empty sidewalk shine a little. Inside the restaurant, Elena Vasquez cleaned the counter again, even though it was already clean. She did it just because she was used to it. The night shift was usually quiet, except on weekends when people came in after parties, hungry for food. But tonight was just a regular Wednesday and hardly anyone was there. Elena looked at the clock on the wall. It was 2:47 a.m. She let out a deep sigh. She felt very, very tired. It wasn't just her body that was tired. Her mind felt even worse. It was like the tiredness was stuck to her, following her all day and night. She picked up a wet cloth and started wiping the tables near the counter. Her eyes wandered to the street outside. The road was shining under the streetlights and a soft mist was starting to cover it. The night was so quiet that it made her thoughts feel even louder. Bills were due. The rent was late. Her credit card had no money left. Elena closed her eyes for a second. She had been working at McDonald's for 3 years now. Her paycheck wasn't much, but she made sure every penny was used wisely. She had to take care of her little brother, Mateo. He was 16 and dreamed of becoming a filmmaker. He loved watching old movies and making short videos on his phone. Even though life was hard, Mateo never complained. "One day I'll turn our story into a movie," Mateo would always say, "and our lives will change. I promise." Elena wanted to believe him. But every day the future felt farther away. She shook her head, trying to focus on work. At the counter, Diego, her coworker, was looking at his phone. He didn't even notice her. Maybe he was watching something funny or just waiting for the shift to end. Elena turned to the trash bin and bent down to change the bag. The plastic made a loud crackling sound in the empty restaurant. Then suddenly, vroom. The loud noise of a motorcycle echoed through the night. The peaceful silence was broken. Elena quickly stood up and looked toward the entrance. Bright headlights flashed against the glass. A motorcycle came to a stop right outside the door. Her heart started beating a little faster. At this hour, every customer was a mystery. Would it be a harmless visitor? Or someone dangerous? She never knew. The McDonald's door swung open. A man walked in. He wore a dark jacket and a baseball cap. His steps were slow but steady. His face was hidden by shadows, but there was something about him that seemed familiar. Elena stood straight behind the counter, trying to act normal. "Good evening. What would you like?" she asked. Her voice sounded a little rough from being so tired. The man looked up at her. Elena stared for a moment. There was something about his face. Had she seen him before? Maybe he was just another customer, or maybe... No, she was probably just imagining things. The man stopped in front of the counter. He slowly pulled off his black gloves and tucked them into his jacket pocket. His baseball cap covered part of his face, but Elena still felt like she had seen him somewhere before. He looked really tired. Not just the kind of tired you feel after a long day, but the kind of tired that feels heavy, like he was carrying a lot of worries. Elena cleared her throat and pulled the register screen toward her. "Good evening. What would you like?" she asked again. The man gave a small smile. It wasn't big, but it felt real. "A coffee and a small order of fries, please." Elena nodded and typed in the order. It was simple, just enough to stop his hunger. "Will you pay with cash or card?" she asked. The man reached into his jacket pocket and started looking for something. He checked one side, then the other. A small frown appeared on his face. He checked his back pockets. Nothing. "Damn," he muttered under his breath. Then he looked up at Elena. He looked embarrassed. "I think I forgot my wallet," he said. Elena blinked. He let out a small, awkward laugh. "Well, this is awkward. I guess I'll have to go back and get it. Sorry for wasting your time." He turned to leave, but before he could walk away, Elena spoke without thinking. "Wait." The man stopped and looked at her, confused. Elena reached into her apron pocket, pulled out her debit card and swiped it through the machine. The man frowned. "What?" "It's already paid for," she said. The man stood still for a moment as if he wasn't sure he heard her correctly. "But why?" he asked. Elena shrugged. "Because you look tired. And because sometimes a small act of kindness can make a big difference. Consider it my treat." The man stared at her. His dark eyes looked at her like he was trying to understand something. Then something changed in his face. His expression softened. This time when he smiled, it felt different. It wasn't just a smile of thanks, it was something deeper. He rubbed the back of his neck, looking touched by her kindness. "This doesn't happen to me often," he said. Elena raised an eyebrow. "So, do you accept it or not?" The man let out a quiet laugh and shook his head. "I accept. And I really appreciate it." Elena simply nodded and turned to prepare his order. As she poured the coffee and grabbed the fries, she could still feel his eyes on her. It was strange. There was something about him that felt familiar, but she still couldn't figure out why. When she placed the tray on the counter, the man picked up the coffee and held it for a moment, like he was thinking about something. Then he spoke. Small gestures changed the world. Elena blinked. What? What you said. Small gestures make a difference. I agree. The world needs more people like that. Elena didn't know what to say. She just gave him a small nod. The man picked up his tray and turned to leave. But just before stepping outside, he paused. He looked at her again and his eyes flickered with something, recognition. Like he had seen her before too. But where? He hesitated, then gave one last faint smile before stepping out into the night. Elena stood there, watching as he disappeared into the darkness. Weird guy, she muttered to herself. She had no idea that this brief encounter would change her life forever. The rest of the night was quiet after the strange man left. Elena went back to her routine, cleaning tables, organizing supplies, and trying to shake off the strange feeling he had left behind. Meanwhile, Diego, the other worker on the night shift, was leaning against the fryer, staring at his phone. Dude, you're not going to believe this, he said. Elena looked at him and raised an eyebrow. What? Diego turned his phone toward her. On the screen, a video was paused. In the video, she could see herself. What is this? She asked, grabbing the phone. Diego grinned. I recorded it when you paid for that guy's food. It was such a nice moment, so I thought it was worth sharing. Elena's stomach tightened. She pressed play and watched the video. It showed the man in the dark jacket realizing he forgot his wallet. Then it showed her paying for his meal. The man looked surprised. And at the end, he gave a small, mysterious smile before walking out. But what really shocked her was the number on the screen. 10 million views. Elena gasped. This is going viral. And the best part. Diego chuckled, pointing at the caption. It read, McDonald's workers pay for customers' meals. Small kindness can change the world. Elena read the comments. This is the kind of kindness we need in the world. She deserves a raise. Wait, is that Keanu Reeves? Dude, I swear that looks like Keanu. Look at his smile at the end. Someone finds this woman and gives her a reward. Elena's face turned red. Diego, what did you do? Relax. This is great. You're famous now. But Elena wasn't so sure. Something about all these people watching her made her stomach twist. She never wanted to be famous. She never wanted millions of people looking at her face, talking about her actions. This will go away soon, right? She asked hopefully. Diego shrugged. Maybe not. By the time Elena got off work at 6 o'clock in the morning, the world still looked the same. The sky was getting lighter, the night air was still cold, and the streets were quiet. She took the bus home, resting her head against the window, trying to ignore the weird feeling in her gut. But as soon as she got off at her stop, she knew something was different. 2 teenage girls were sitting on a bench near her apartment building. As soon as they saw her, their eyes went wide. One of them pulled out her phone and started recording. Elena walked faster. When she reached the entrance of her building, the doorman, Ramirez, gave her a big smile. Well, looks like we have a celebrity here. Oh, come on, Ramirez. He chuckled and opened the door for her. My daughter sent me your video this morning. You're all over the internet. They're calling you a hero. Elena rolled her eyes. But deep inside, she felt panic rising in her chest. She hurried up the stairs and unlocked the door to her small apartment. Her brother, Mateo, was sitting in his pajamas, holding his phone with wide eyes. Elena, what now? He said. He turned his phone toward her. A news website had a huge headline across the page. McDonald's employee pays for mystery man's meal. The internet is touched. Was it Keanu Reeves? Elena put her hand on her forehead. Oh no. Oh yes. Mateo shouted. Elena, you're famous. Look how many followers you have. People are even trying to send you money on TikTok. This can't be real. But it was. And it was just getting started. Suddenly her phone vibrated. A message popped up on the screen. Elena. Urgent meeting. Come to the restaurant now. Mr. Ramirez. Her heart dropped. The McDonald's manager never sent messages like that. Mateo looked at her. That's not good, is it? Definitely not. She took a deep breath, grabbed her jacket and rushed out the door. Minutes later, she walked into the restaurant. Everyone was looking at her. Some were smiling. Others were whispering. Mr. Ramirez, the manager, stood at the office door. Elena, we need to talk. Now. She followed him inside. I paid with my own money, she said. I didn't give anything away for free. Ramirez shook his head. That doesn't matter. You broke company rules. If we let you do this, we have to let everyone do it. What if someone gives free food to another celebrity or a random customer? It's a bad example. Elena felt anger rising inside her. So, being kind is against the rules now? Ramirez sighed. It's not about kindness, Elena. It's about company policy. And the decision has already been made. A heavy silence filled the room. Elena's heart pounded. You're firing me? Ramirez nodded. Yes. You're officially terminated. Elena wanted to argue, but she knew nothing would change his mind. This was unfair. This was ridiculous, but it was happening. Ramirez took an envelope from his desk and slid it toward her. Here are your papers. Your final paycheck. Elena's eyes stung, but she refused to cry. She grabbed the envelope and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back and said, I did the right thing. Ramirez didn't answer. Elena stepped outside. A small crowd was waiting. People held up their phones, recording her. Hey, you're the girl from the video, right? Elena tried to ignore them. Did they fire you? Someone asked. She wanted to say nothing. She wanted to go home. But then something inside her snapped. She was tired of staying quiet. She looked straight into the camera and said, Yes, I got fired. All because I paid for a customer's meal with my own money. Silence. Then someone shouted, What? The internet exploded. Social media flooded with angry comments. She got fired for being kind? That's insane. McDonald's explained this. If they fire someone for being nice, I'm never eating there again. Hashtag justice for Elena is trending. Elena's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The story was growing faster than she could keep up with. But she didn't know how she was going to pay rent, take care of Mateo, or fix this mess. Mateo sat beside her on the couch. Okay, but now what? How are we going to afford food? Rent. Elena sighed. I don't know. She went out looking for work. She went to the mall, the grocery store, even the little coffee shop on the corner. Everywhere people recognized her. You're the girl from the video, right? She nodded. Sorry, but we're not hiring right now. After 5 rejections, she realized the truth. No one wanted to hire her. The viral video wasn't helping. It was making things worse. That night, she checked her bank account. The number was scary. She had no choice. She opened a freelance job website and started applying for anything. Data entry, customer service, anything that paid quickly. No replies. She lay on her bed, covering her face with her arm. Was this it? Would she have to leave her apartment? Would Mateo have to give up his dreams? Then her phone vibrated. She sighed and picked it up. But when she saw the sender, her heart stopped. Sender. Subject, we need to talk. Elena frowned. Who was he? She opened the email. Elena, I saw what happened to you. I want to help. Let's talk. Her heart pounded. A scam? A joke? She hesitated. Then she typed a reply. Who are you? Keanu gave a small smile. Technically, my name is Kay, but yes, I was the one who sent the email. Elena leaned forward. But why? Sophia was quiet for a moment, like he was thinking about the right words to say. What you did that night at McDonald's? It was a small thing, but it meant a lot to me. Elena blinked. It was just coffee and fries. Keanu smiled. To you maybe. But for me it was different. You helped me without knowing who I was, and you didn't expect anything in return. He looked at her, his eyes serious. And for a moment I felt like I already knew you. Elena frowned. What do you mean? Keanu took a deep breath. Then he said something that made Elena freeze. Elena, your mother used to work at a movie theater, didn't she? Elena's whole body went stiff. How do you know that? Keanu held his coffee cup, like he was remembering something from a long time ago. Because she was one of the people who helped me before I became famous. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Next to her, Mateo whispered, This can't be real. Elena felt like she couldn't breathe. She stared at Keanu, waiting for him to laugh, to say it was a joke. But he didn't. His face was calm and serious. Her mother. Keanu Reeves knew her mother. Mateo sat frozen, his mouth open. It looked like his brain had stopped working from the shock. Elena forced herself to speak. How do you know my mom? Keanu let out a small breath, his fingers running around the top of his coffee cup. It was a long time ago. I was just a struggling actor, nobody trying to survive. I had no money for food, let alone for movies. But I loved movies. I would sneak into theaters just to watch and learn. He gave a small, sad smile. Your mother worked at one of those theaters. She caught me sneaking in once. Elena felt her stomach tighten. She could imagine it clearly. Her mother was always kind, always ready to help. Did she kick you out? Elena asked. Keanu chuckled. No. She saw me standing there trying not to get caught. But instead of reporting me, she gave me a ticket. She told me, everyone deserves to escape into a good story sometimes. Elena swallowed hard. That sounded exactly like something her mother would say. That wasn't the only time, Keanu continued. She let me in more than once. She even sneaked me free popcorn sometimes. Elena's eyes burned with tears. Her mother had passed away years ago, but now Keanu Reeves, a world-famous actor, was telling her that her mom had once helped him when he was struggling. Mateo finally found his voice. Wait, you're telling me that mom helped Keanu freaking Reeves when he was broke? And now, years later, my sister randomly helps you at McDonald's. Keanu smiled. Life is funny, isn't it? Elena shook her head. I can't believe this. Keanu leaned forward. I never forgot her kindness. It may have seemed like a small thing to her, but to me it meant the world. And when I saw you that night at McDonald's, when I saw what you did, I felt like I had seen that kindness before. Elena's heart was racing. So, what does this mean? Keanu took a sip of his coffee before answering. It means I want to help you, just like your mother helped me. Elena frowned. Help me? How? Keanu reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He placed it on the table in front of her. Consider this a thank you gift. Elena hesitated before picking it up. Inside was a check with a huge amount of money. She gasped. I can't accept this. Keanu raised an eyebrow. Why not? Because it's too much. Keanu smiled. To you maybe. But for me it's just a way to pass on the kindness your mother showed me. And you deserve it, Elena. You did something good and you got punished for it. That's not how the world should work. Elena looked down at the check, her hands shaking. This money could change everything. Mateo whispered, Elena, this could save us. She took a deep breath. Keanu. I don't know what to say. Keanu smiled warmly. Then don't say anything. Just use it well. Elena stared at him, still trying to believe this was real. Her whole life had changed overnight. And it all happened because of a small act of kindness. What would Elena do with this life-changing opportunity? She sat there, staring at the check, her mind spinning. This was too much, too unreal. Just a few days ago, she was struggling to pay rent, take care of Mateo, and figure out her future. And now, because of Keanu Reeves, she held a check that could change her life. Are you sure about this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu nodded. Yes. I don't see it as charity, Elena. This is me returning a favor. Your mother helped me when she didn't have to. And now, years later, you did the same. Mateo still looked shocked. This is crazy. It's like a movie. Keanu chuckled. Maybe one day someone will make it into a movie. Elena laughed a little. So, what do I do now? Keanu leaned back thinking. That's up to you. This money is enough to help you and Mateo for a while. But if you want my advice. Elena leaned forward, listening. Don't just survive. Use this as a chance to build the life you've always wanted. His words hit her hard. For so long she had only been trying to get by, working long hours, struggling to take care of Mateo. She had never thought about doing more. But now, for the first time in years, she had a choice. That night, Elena and Mateo sat at their tiny kitchen table. The check lay between them. Okay, Mateo said, tapping the table. Let's talk about what's next. Elena sighed. First thing, I'm paying off our debts. No more overdue rent. No more stress. Mateo nodded eagerly. Agreed. And after that? Elena hesitated. I don't know. Maybe I could go back to school. Take a business course. I never really got the chance to study. Mateo grinned. You'd be amazing at that. Elena raised an eyebrow. You think so? I know so. She smiled. For the first time in a long time she felt hope. Then she looked at Mateo. And what about you? His face lit up. I want to apply for film school. Elena's heart tightened. Mateo had always dreamed of making movies, telling stories. And now, for the first time, that dream wasn't impossible. Then that's what we'll do. Mateo laughed, shaking his head. I still can't believe this is real. Me neither, Elena admitted. But as she looked at her brother, at their small apartment, at the check that could start a new life, she knew one thing. This was just the beginning. A few months later, Elena sat in a cafe sipping her coffee. She no longer worked night shifts. She had just finished her first semester of business school. Mateo had been accepted into a great film program. They had moved into a better apartment. Life wasn't perfect, but for the first time, it felt like it was theirs to build. Her phone buzzed. New message from Keanu Reeves. Subject: how's the new chapter treating you? Elena smiled as she typed back. Better than I ever imagined. Thank you, Keanu. She hit send and looked across the table. Mateo was busy writing ideas for his first short film. And just like that, Elena realized something. A small act of kindness really can change the world. If you enjoy the story, drop a comment and let me know. Don't forget to subscribe for more adventures. Your support keeps the stories coming. See you in the next video.